Good evening. I am Dr. Sonia Cunningham Leverett with Hadassah's Crown Publishing. We are returning for our Thursday night author interview series, and we are going to be interviewing Yashica Lee. She is a minister out of Anderson, South Carolina, and she is the author of Grief That Grips the Heart. So I may stay on after our interview and talk just for a few minutes about some of the exciting things that we have going on with Hadassah's Crown Publishing. If I don't, please go to our website, hadassahscrownpublishing.com, and look at our most recent blog. It talks about our 50th book coming to the shelf, all the exciting publications that we have coming out this month or into next month, and also, Oh, How We Love Our Sons, an anthology that will come out before the Christmas holidays. So let's invite our guest. So excited to see our guest tonight. I have not seen her since February. There she is. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I do
Good.
apologize for the delay. That is completely my fault. I didn't even realize I could go live under Hadassah's Crown Publishing. So that's what I was doing. And so I am back under Sonia C. Leverett, and welcome to the interview series tonight. How have things been for you? You're
Things
welcome.
have been good.
Awesome.
But just trying to get through all this COVID stuff.
I can understand. And so for those of you who are watching, Yashica and I worked together in the same school district about 5 years ago. Before, that was when I left, but she's still there. And so just know that my heart goes out to all educators, children, parents, everybody involved with the school system, but just our entire world, because it is truly a different time and it requires tons and tons and tons of prayer.
Well, thank you.
Yes, so thank you for being a servant, and just, God bless and protect you.
Yes, thank you. And you as well.
Thank you so much. Well, we are here tonight to talk about grief that grips the heart. And as we've talked before, it's not an easy topic at all. It's not one of those fun topics, but it is a part of life. It is a necessary conversation. And sadly, so many families have been affected this year, and we don't know what the future holds. The good thing is we know who holds the future, but your book, I think, is a book that can help anyone, regardless as to what your relationship is to someone who passes away. Because when we talk about grief, we're not just talking about death. We can be talking about the loss of a relationship, the loss of a pet, the loss of a home, the loss of a job. So grief has many different faces, but this interview isn't for me, it's for you. So just, if you will, tell us about yourself and then tell us your story. Why did you write this book?
Okay. I am Yashica Lee. I am from Anderson, South Carolina, married to my wonderful husband, Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
We have 2 children, Zalika and Trey, and we have a 4-year-old grandson. And like you said, I work for Anderson School District 5. I am a minister. I was ordained in 2014, and we currently attend High Praises Church on Midway Road, where Pastor Krista Starr is our pastor.
Awesome. All right. So thank you for the introduction and for the background. And so if you will, tell us how you came up with the idea for Grief That Grips the Heart.
Well, Grief That Grips the Heart, I started journaling in 2015 after my mom's death. And I did the journaling just so that I could get stuff out of my head and get it on paper. Because as long as it was in my head, I was just replaying the event over and over. So I started writing just so that I could get some of that stuff out of my head. And it was just a way to help me get through the rough time that I was going through, because I had a very difficult time after my mom's death. So the journaling eventually turned into Grief That Grips the Heart.
Wow. And that's my experience too. My first book or short story actually was my story was divided into two different anthologies, but it started from my journaling in 1999 when I was going through a very difficult situation, and the writing was therapeutic. It helped me get through a very difficult time. And so that's kind of the theme of this interviewing, because that's what so many other authors have shared as well. And I just encourage people to write through those difficult times, because it gives you a release and it helps you to heal. And then there's something about publishing it. Now, I know everybody won't publish every publishing isn't for everybody, but then there's another layer that seems to peel off when you release that story and share it with other people, especially when we become that sacrificial lamb in a way so that we can help other people heal. And so you share the details of your experience in here, but then you share what helped you get through, like just all of these different steps. So if you will, just walk us through some of the components of the book.
Okay, the first part of the book, I just basically talked about my experience with my mom after she became ill, and how that process happened, with the doctors and with me making the decision to take her off of life support, and then even after her death, just some different things that I went through. Depression, went through different stages of grief. Everybody's stages won't be the same. Some people may not be depressed like I was, but depression was one of the stages that I went through. And then at the end of the book, I just kind of talk about things that we should not say to people whenever they're grieving, because sometimes we can say things that end up hurting somebody in the long run. And a lot of times we don't know what to say to people whenever they're grieving. And if you don't know what to say, you don't have to say anything. You can just listen, just basically listen to them. They need somebody to listen to what they have to say.
Exactly. Exactly. Very, very, very important points, that grief looks different for different people, and the stages. Some people go through every stage. Some people may only go through one or two, but then whatever it is, again, it looks different, for different people. And so you kind of walk through what you went through, and then what you found to be extremely helpful for you.
Yes.
So that, I thought that was awesome. And then again, just what to say, because it is sometimes a little bit awkward, and it's hard, I know, for the person who is going through to sometimes receive advice or sometimes even encouragement for someone who hasn't gone through what they're going through. And so if you haven't experienced it, you really do have a loss. You don't know what to say. And so sometimes silence is just the best thing. Just don't say anything. Just being there, just calling, letting the person know that you were thinking about them. Those are just some good strategies to help a family get through.
Yes. And even my mom's death is different from somebody else's mom death. And a lot of times we'll say, and I've been guilty of saying this prior to my mom's death, when, like if someone said their grandmother died, and I would say, well, I know what you're going through because my grandmother had passed away. But no, I really didn't know what they were going through, just because all of our journeys are different. So no, I don't know what they're going through. My experience was different.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
even if it's, the same grandmother, mother, father, it's still different. All of our experiences are different.
Exactly. I know that at one point you were instrumental in reaching out, to churches, funeral homes, and you were willing to do sessions, with the book and offer your services. And I just wonder, because I just happened to look, and I think the number that I saw was somewhat accurate, that the U.S., that we're approaching perhaps 200,000 deaths due to COVID, and it's just continuing to climb. Do you happen to know what's available in the community right now? I mean, I know we can't do a lot of what we've done in the past as far as like the face-to-face grief counseling sessions, but I'm not really up on it so well. Are you able to talk about that?
Well, I do not know a lot of the things that are going on right now. I do know a lot of things have been canceled as of right now just because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like Hospice of the Upstate, I've done some things with them.
Uh-huh.
They have canceled a lot of their things. So I'm sure across the board, a lot of places have canceled some of
Wow.
their services right now.
And that's heartbreaking just because now when it's needed so very badly. But even for families who have, the technology and the computers, I hope that there's still some possibilities to get together through Zoom or Google Meets and those type things. And I know that there are probably sermons out there that people can find because, you know, I know we're also dealing with a mental health crisis as well because just it's just so much, you know,
Yes,
even if you have never dealt with or battled mental health issues, it's difficult. And so for people who have had experiences, I'm sure it's even more so. And then now you can't sometimes get the help that you really need. So it's really a critical time. It really is.
it is. And it's sad that a lot of families can't be there with their loved ones when their loved ones, died now because of COVID. I know of, a few families where they basically watch through FaceTime their loved ones take their last breath. So I'm sure that's difficult and, it plays a big role in the mental health part of death right now.
Exactly. Exactly. And my family, has experienced that, seeing someone being transported to the hospital or, even to the emergency room, and you can't even get in. And then unfortunately, that's the last time that you've been able to see them. And you think
Yes.
about, anyone who is not really able to communicate over the telephone. They may not be able to really hear you. It's so much. It's just really unreal. But I truly believe that your book can help so many people, and I encourage people. I actually try to keep a stash so that when someone loses a family member, sometimes they're not ready for it at first
Mm-hmm.
because they feel like it's going to make their hurt worse. They sometimes we just want to see how we're going to do without any help whatsoever. And then after a little while, we'll say, I'm kind of struggling. I need something. And then that's when I feel like, helping them to see you're not alone. This is common. Other people go through it. You can't just bury a close loved one and then just snap back and everything's just quickly the way it used to be.
No, it does not work that way.
Exactly.
Just in May, my father died, not from COVID, but he was diagnosed with cancer and he passed in May. So eventually I had to go back to my own book and read just so that
Wow.
it could help me get through the
Mm-hmm.
process of, his death.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And I remember speaking with you about it, and there was a reason that you kept it short. Will you share that with the viewers?
Yes, when God told me that this would turn into a book, He told me that it would be a short book just because when people are grieving, a lot of times you're not in a place where you can comprehend a lot of information at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's short, it has a lot of advice, a lot of good nuggets that will
Mm-hmm.
help,
Mm-hmm.
anyone on their journey of getting through grief.
Exactly. I like the fact that it's scripturally based. It has great quotes that that you can just pull and use on a card or a letter that you might be writing. Um, and the other thing, that we're really dealing with now is not only sometimes like the death possibly so different, but then the way we put our families away, that there's no assembly, that you don't really see church funerals anymore. And so just a few people at the graveside, and then there's the social distancing. So you can't even approach a family member and actually embrace them and hug them and let them know how much you love them and you care for them and you're thinking about them. Everything just seems so extremely icy cold right now.
Yes.
And it just compounds the issue of the suffering and the grief and everything that's going on. And so, I encourage anyone who's really struggling, if you know someone who's struggling, help is possible. Things are so limited right now with, even face to face with doctors and clinicians. I know, that there's a lot of FaceTime, there's a lot of Zoom for sessions if they're non-emergencies. But again, I encourage you, Grief That Grips the Heart, it can be found on Amazon. It can also be found on, the link is on hadassahscrownpublishing.com. And then I know that Yashica is on Facebook. And so if you'd like to reach out to her that way, if you'd like a signed copy, I'm sure, she'd be happy to work with you on that.
Yes, I sure will.
Mm-hmm. Well, what would you like for our viewers to know that I have not asked or that we have not shared at this point?
Well, I would just like to talk to aspiring authors. If you have a story, share your story, your journey. Your journey can help someone else get through a rough time that they may be going through. And even if the enemy tries to tell you that your story is not worth it, no one will want to read your story, that is not true. Pray about it, just seek God and share your story, because you never know who it'll help.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And I applaud you for doing that, because I know it wasn't easy releasing your story. It was very personal. And if I'm not mistaken, it might have been on like the anniversary. It had been maybe a year or maybe a couple years. It hadn't been very long. And so I know that was difficult, but you saw that there was purpose for your pain that could help somebody else.
Yes.
So we do encourage you to share, and you may not necessarily decide to publish your story, but just sharing it. Maybe you get an opportunity to read it to a small group, whatever the forum is. So Yashica, do you think you'll do any more publishing? Are you still writing?
Yes, I will. And I hope it's sooner than later.
Okay, awesome.
Look, but the good thing is I already know who my publisher will be.
Oh, wow. Well, I am flattered. You were amazing to work with. I mean, your document came in so very well edited, so very well to the point. And I love those types of submissions because it just makes my job so very easy. And then you're so easy, of course, to communicate with. So I appreciate you. I just, love your family. And I'm so glad that I'm at least, we don't get to talk that much, but I'm able to keep up via social media. I'm extremely happy for Trey and his recent success. And I watch Zalika and your grandson and just know that you all are doing well. So I'm blessed to know that.
Well, thank you. And we're blessed to know you too.
Well, thank you so much. Well, as we close, if any viewers, I haven't seen any questions that have come up in the chat. So you have a couple of seconds to let us know if you want anything else discussed that we haven't discussed at this time. But also, Yashica, would you like to share any other contact information? I know we mentioned Facebook. Is that one of the best ways to contact you?
Yes, Facebook and email. My email address is yashicaL@yahoo.com, and that's YASHICAL@yahoo.com.
Awesome. Well, we've had a nice little crowd tonight, so I am so very grateful. Thank you all for joining us. Right now, we don't have an interview scheduled for next week, but all of our interviews, most of our interviews are under Sonia C. Leverett, so you can go back and watch those. But again, this book tonight that we're discussing, it is very timely, especially for what our, just the country and the world is going through right now. Again, grief is one of those topics that we don't enjoy talking about, but it's necessary. And there are people really struggling. And so I do believe that this can be a resource that can be life changing for somebody that's going through. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you all for viewing, and I hope you will have a great night and a great weekend. If you'd like to say anything as we close, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're so welcome. All right. Well, have a great night and a great weekend, and continue to be blessed.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.